This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
We are in the last week of preseason, guys, and everything is pretty much a lock to this point. We're going to be going over the few positions that have been reported that they are a lock going into the regular season, and it looks like per insider sources that the Eagles are still trying to find a wide receiver, and they will be trading for a wide receiver or acquiring for one before the season starts. So let's get into all of the news.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So I want to go over some news on the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is the last week of preseason. So by this point, you're not looking. You're looking for obviously maybe some depth pieces, practice squad. Really, that's what you're looking for when it comes to this last preseason game. But already, you should already have like an idea of where your starters are. Like a lot of these positions are really a lock at this point. We're gonna be going over that. But I think the one thing to definitely go over right now is the wide receiver position. And since everything has been so lackluster at that position, I figured we would have found something by now. But in my own eyes, we haven't really found much of anything. I think when it comes to the wide receivers, we're going to find a combination of players that are still going to play this year. I think Covey will have his opportunities. Johnny Wilson will have his opportunities. And unfortunately, Paris Campbell has just missed too much significant time between missing joint practice with the Patriots, missing the second preseason game, first preseason game. So he's missed a lot of time for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm sorry, but it just hasn't been enough for me. I mean, you had Britton Covey in the second preseason game, and you only played him 13% of the snaps. Like, why didn't he get more reps with Johnny Wilson that was out with a concussion? Okay, so from Tim McManus, insider report, so it says, quote unquote, signs are pointing to this being a group effort with Wilson, Covey, and others on the depth chart getting snaps depending on a given matchup. McManus said the wild card is whether general manager Howie Roseman pulls off a trade and bolster the position. Given the expectations for this season and the lack of clear answers behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, it seems likely the Eagles will look to add before week 1 against the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. Okay. This is really alarming, okay? And I'm really hoping a move is made because I'm sorry, but I don't want to go through another year of this wide receiver 3 being a lackluster position where we're constantly substituting guys in a rotation. Now, you could tell me, hey, Joe, they can just keep what they have and just rotate guys for specific plays. But you don't want to do that every single game because then Kellen Moore really has to make sure that things aren't looking too easily seen by what receivers and substitutions they put at wide receiver 3 for those specific plays and matchups. Now, we've talked about the receivers. We've talked about who they could go after. And obviously right now, I think John Mechie could be the number one target because I think it's the most realistic. We've talked about Jahan Dotson, but would be a great move as well. But trading within the division, don't know if Dan Quinn would actually do that. We talked about Hunter Renfrow. I mean, we talked about Yahoo Sports had, Alan Lazard coming to the Eagles from the Jets. I don't know. John Mechie seems like the perfect fit. Obviously, a past teammate of Devontae Smith, so the camaraderie already would have been there by now, which is good. And on top of everything else, John Mechie has had a good preseason. Even against the Giants, he had 8 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown, averaging 9.9 a catch. So it's not like John Mechie hasn't done anything this past offseason. And obviously the Texans are pretty loaded at receiver right now. And what would it cost, what would it cost at this point to bring John Mechie in? I mean, I'm hoping like a mid-round pick for next year or something like that. So potentially, I think the John Mechie thing could be a bigger realistic option for the Eagles going forward, and I think would be perfect for that point. At this point, so like I said, there's not much showing at receiver. I thought we would have seen a lot more. I thought guys would have a little bit more reps, but guys have been out with injuries or concussions like at the wrong time, and the production just really hasn't been there to really jaw drop us during these games. Say, whoa, he's the wide receiver 3. He's really got to be in there. So I think as of right now, this is still up in the air. Eagles are still going to be working the phone, seeing what they could do, but I'm really hoping that from the few that I've already mentioned on the list, that's where we're going. To get a guy that really hasn't done much of anything, I think they should get a guy that's had at least a good offseason so far with the team. And not someone that's going to be another question mark coming in for the Philadelphia Eagles as a starting wide receiver 3, with us really not knowing what they're really going to do. Get someone that's coming off of a substantial, not tremendous, but you want to get somebody off of substantial, resume for the offseason that could go in there and do some good things. So I think John Mechie would probably, like I said, be the most realistic type option for the Eagles when it comes to trade. And it seems like this thing is getting more realistic. I'm not saying I don't like the receivers we have, but guys, I think we all agree that they just haven't shown us enough. Just haven't shown us enough whatsoever, even from these practices, even us hearing about the practices, besides joint practices and preseason, we still haven't heard enough from it. So that's where we are at wide receiver right now. And yeah, I think a move is going to be made sooner or later, and probably a lot sooner than expected. Now, Quniyon Mitchell, okay? Now, Quniyon Mitchell is interesting. So, Quniyon Mitchell did have an interview. It looks like Quniyon Mitchell will be the starting nickel. I'm not really surprised. I'm just really hoping that this doesn't turn to a Landon Dickerson situation where they like him at nickel so much that they're going to keep him there. But when it comes to depth at the position, it doesn't seem likely because Zech McPherson hasn't showed much for me. And obviously, Tyler Hall is on IR. So, you don't really have much depth there. Avonte Maddox seems like he probably should make the team because he will be the backup hybrid nickel/safety at this point. Depending on what happens with Bradbury and if he will get traded or they're BSing with all the news about him and how good he looks in his high IQ. But Quniyon Mitchell has done really well. I mean, John Clark did interview him. He said, I feel like I've been handling it well. It's a position I've never played before. At first, it was like bullets are flying everywhere, but has slowed down for me, and I am getting the hang of it. Eagles first-round pick, Quniyon Mitchell, I'm playing nickel cornerback. So, yeah, I mean, that's a really risky thing to do. First-round pick that's played outside corner, you put him at a brand-new position, and he's played well. The great thing about it is when they have moved Quniyon Mitchell to outside cornerback, he's made plays. So for a first-round pick that's able to play inside-outside is great. But at nickel spot, that's where Quniyon Mitchell is going to be. I'm hoping he makes a lot of plays this year, and we're really excited about the situation. Like, we're actually going to have a legit nickel corner that can play outside, and Quniyon Mitchell's getting his shot. I'm really glad he's flourished, and Fangio has done a really good job with him. I was really nervous when they started moving him to the inside, and how long is it really going to take for him to, get the hang of it? And it seems like it's really going pretty well. Now, into other news, Isaiah Rodgers. Yes, I mean, it seems like he is going to be the starting outside corner across from Darius Slay as the CB2. I know there's half Eagle fans right now that are talking about, man, Keely Ringo should have the job. I'm probably one of those guys, but I have no issue with Isaiah Rodgers starting on the outside. I think he's done a really good job for being suspended last year. The whole entire year, not being able to be in group activities and seeing the Eagles, traveling with the Eagles to games and doing stuff like that. This is a guy that has a big chip on his shoulder this year, okay? The only team that had interest in Isaiah Rodgers right before when the suspension was going to happen was the Philadelphia Eagles. So he gives much respect to us, but for other teams passing on him, he's definitely going to make them pay for it. And that's what's going to really drive him the whole entire season. And yes, he's going to be working for a contract. So this is going to be a whole another question going into the 25 offseason. Like, what's going to happen this year if he plays really well and what the cornerback position will look like next year. But let's worry about this year because that's all that matters. Okay, Keely Ringo has done fantastic. Once Slay either gets traded or retires next year, I think, yes, there will be a chance for Ringo to. I think Ringo will definitely be a starting cornerback next year, no doubt, but he could be coming into games this year. You never know. Kelee Ringo is ready. I think he has been ready. He has had great camps, great preseason games. He has done fantastic. He has done everything the Eagles have told him to do, and he has really carried it out. Fangio has been very impressed with him and his effort, not even just on the field, but in the film room and the questions that he is asking. So I have no problem with this. You're just adding more depth to cornerback, and you're not really missing a beat. So God forbid Isaiah Rodgers plays bad, or, he gets hurt or something like that. Ringo can come right in, no problem. And plus, Quniyon Mitchell can play outside, inside. So you always have those parts that can move outside, inside. You have those hybrid type guys that can play multiple positions as well. So whether you are happy with Isaiah Rodgers being on the outside or not, I think it's still a good thing. And, very happy to see him in that spot, and obviously what's behind it as of right now. Okay, now, before we get into our next, and I think this is the one we've been kind of already knowing at this point, I want to thank BetUS for sponsoring this video. And here's a word from our sponsors at BetUS. If I'm the betting man that I am and you're rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the redemption year for Jalen Hurts. This is the year we get the bad taste out of our mouths from last season. If I'm going all in, ride or die with a Super Bowl and bringing that Lombardi trophy back to Philadelphia for a second time, you need to go to BetUS, and I'm not wasting any time with it. I'm putting $500 down as the risk and getting $7,000 back at the end of the year, because this offense is going to be explosive. This defense by Vic Fangio is going to be dynamic. New customers for BetUS get $125 deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. You can't pass up on this for the most important season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Check the link in the description below, and I want to thank BetUS for sponsoring this video. The one that is very obvious for us and the Philadelphia Eagle fans of what has been one of the low-risk, high-reward signings of the offseason that has done really well is Mekhi Becton starting at right guard. Now, we heard about the injury, obviously the right leg injury. If you guys missed my video the other day, he did get hurt. He's been wearing that sleeve on his right leg. So Eagles guard tackle Mekhi Becton, who left practice on Sunday with the leg injury, avoid anything serious and should be fine per sources. The rejuvenated Becton is the favorite to start right guard in week 1 versus the Packers in Brazil. So that it is a lock. Mekhi Becton is the starting right guard. Who would have figured that out? Who would have thought that this would even happen? We knew that if he comes to Jeff Stoutland University, that there was a lot of praise that Becton, he could be turned, I'm telling you, it's crazy what Jeff Stoutland could do. He could take that talent right out of you and do a really good job. So really the focal point for the Eagles right now at this right guard position, especially with Becton, is to rest him right now. It's to get him better. Do not rush him back. Let him get fully better. There's a little bit of time left. There's still a couple weeks left. So let the guy get better, get more healthier, and he'll be ready for week 1 of the season. So I'm very excited for it. I'm very happy for Becton, because this could be a lot. He could have a lot of years in his career. He's 25 years old, guys. I mean, it's just insane right now how young he is, where he's at, and potentially, unfortunately, with Tyler Steen having 2 injuries already in the offseason, seems like Trevor Keegan will be the backup right guard as of right now, and Trevor Keegan has played good, has played fantastic the last couple preseason games, and the offseason program has been very strong in his favor. So down the line, you could be good for a lot of years, even with Lane Johnson retiring in a couple years and what that could look like. So very, very happy for Mekhi Becton going forward, and thought that was really good. So we know he is the starter. And lastly, this isn't anything crazy. This has nothing to do with the Eagles, really, but it does. Jalen Mills is really wanting a return to Philadelphia. I don't know why. He's got no job right now, so he wants to have a job. But on his IG post, I guess he's got his jersey in his probably his jersey in his house that's framed up, and it looks like he's really wanting to come back to Philadelphia. We know that, so it looks like what Jalen Mills has done the last couple of years. He has been a hybrid corner/safety. He has played a lot of safety, which is good. Depending on what happens with Cooper DeJean and where they're moving him, really depending on what they're doing with James Bradberry and all this high talk about him playing such a great transition from corner, high IQ, and all this crap about James Bradberry, which I just can't believe at this point. Jalen Mills wants to come back to Philadelphia, and obviously he will not start. He'll be a backup guy most likely, but this is I would say by now he is a veteran player that won a Super Bowl with this team. And some Eagle fans are just like, no. Like, I'm not really against it, to be honest. The more depth, why not? I mean, a guy that knows the city, and if the guy needs to play, God forbid, for some reason, he's here. You know what I mean? So I know he's not part of the Nick Sirianni era. He's part of the Doug Peterson era in Philadelphia. So it would be pretty cool. Howie Roseman obviously has a connection with a lot of his old players, and we'll see where this goes. But, things could happen in the future. And I don't think Jalen Mills is going to be that expensive to have on this roster either. So he'll probably be pretty cheap. So not really expecting too much there, but we'll see what happens. Safety is still a big question. Like I said, what's going to happen with Bradbury, Cooper DeJean, and where they're moving him, except from inside to outside? People in the comment section are telling me, oh, they never said they're moving Cooper DeJean to safety. Well, no, they didn't, but because he's on a snap count right now, he's still limited right now, but still getting a good amount of reps, 12 reps, whatever it is during practice. They're going to start to move him a little bit. He could be a Swiss Army knife game by game, depending on matchups and, it just changes to the defense in game. So we'll see what happens with that whole situation. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty excited. I think the number one thing I'm excited for is wide receiver and where this is going to go. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We cover the Eagles every single day. We'll be streaming the game this week, the last preseason game, and all the regular season games. So definitely check that out. And if you haven't liked the video, it does help the channel tremendously. So thank you so much. I want to thank BetUS for sponsoring this video. Get 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. And definitely check the link. Click the link in the description below to start betting right now, because you're going to make a lot of money with the Philadelphia Eagles this season. And other than that, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. We're going to find out what happens, the rest of this week. So next Tuesday is cuts. The cuts are all going to happen next Tuesday. So we will be live streaming that day and going to go through all of what's going to happen. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes one up, follow us. Peace out, guys. Peace.